Hi, this is Dovid Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Whether you're watching with our friends over at Torah Anytime or wherever you watch or listen to your podcasts, it's very exciting to have you along with us once again for this adventure. I just got an email from somebody who said he just found the podcast and he's going through it. Caseta, wow, that's amazing. 2 years of podcasts almost. And it's an amazing thing. Feedback I get from so many people who seem to enjoy what we do here each week. And it's interactive. Absolutely. It's us together. And we have a sponsor this podcast. It's sponsored Le'ilei Nishmas, the 10th yahrzeit of our father and father-in-law, Shmuel Shloimi ben Reb Tzvi Dovid Halevi Abstfeld. I hope I did that right. Wishing you continuous hatzlacha and meaningful, inspirational gedanken. So thank you very much. And this podcast should be a schus. All of the many people who watch this and look forward to it and give us some positive message. And I wanted to give a positive message this week. And I guess I'll get there by giving a negative message. I often told over about the comedian who had said, I want to give you a positive message, but I don't have one, so I'll give you two negative ones instead. I want to tell you two stories. And the two stories juxtaposed is what I think has the important message for us, especially during this difficult time that we're all going through. I don't remember how many years ago it was. It was a whole bunch of years because I went with my entire family to America, and we were staying with my in-laws who at the time were living in Kew Garden Hills in one of those row houses, if you know. In Kew Garden Hills, they have those row houses. And we were, even back then, whenever this was, a large family, a bunch of little kids, and they were... It was not a very big house, so we were all sort of cooped up there, and we had planned an entire day of activities to be able to go out and do nice things. My friend Pesach Kron called me up. We were just about to set out. And he called me up. Now, by the way, I got an email from somebody who said, I don't understand why you don't give kavod to Chachamim. You say things like Pesach Kron instead of, Harav Pesach Kron. So I'll tell you the difference is that, Pesach Kron is a friend of mine. So he calls me Dovid and I call him Pesach. And, it's not like one of these people, you meet and say, hi, you can call me Menachem. And I say, hi, you can call me Rabbi Orlofsky. I'm not careful with the title myself when I sign things, unless it's official correspondence. I had Dovid Orlofsky, I've had Rebbeim who always refer to themselves by their regular names. There are certain historical characters who, people did not add on the honorific at the beginning. So that's what I've heard from a Rebbeim, certain people, where they just say the name without adding, the Rav beforehand. I started in NCSY, and I was known by my nickname Orlo, which is short for Orlofsky, as you can imagine. And eventually I got smicha, and I became Rabbi Orlofsky, and I was speaking once in Long Island, where I used to be the NCSY regional director. And one of my former advisors told me that they saw a sign up and they said, oh, look, David's speaking. And there was a gasp behind her. And there was a seminary girl who said, that's Rabbi Orlofsky Shlita. And she said to me, I thought to myself, I didn't call him Orlo. I thought that was pretty good. But anyway, my friend Pesach Kron, or if it makes you feel better, Harav Pesach Kron Shlita. So he calls me up and he says, listen, I need your help. I said, what's going on? He says, I know a woman, and her son just came back from Eretz Yisrael, and he's having problems. And she thought it would be good for him to talk to a Rav about hashkafa issues. And I know that you're very good at discussing hashkafa issues. So would you be able to come and do us a favor, and come and speak to the boy? So I said, okay, I help out a friend, There's somebody in trouble. My wife said, what am I supposed to do with the kids? I said, listen, I can't say no. I go and help somebody, and I'll make it up to the kids, and whatever. So I go to Peso's house, and there's this kid, and he looks, the nicest word I can use is sullen. And I said, what's the matter? What's the question? Because what's the point of being alive? Okay, Shkoyach, Mesil Shisharm. I teach Mesil Shisharm. We have a Daf Yomi share online that we do through the website. We also have 2 Mesil Shisharm shares, one on Sunday, one on Monday. So, okay, that's how he starts. You saw the Chassid Shosh Avoda Tamima. She's bar v'yizamizadam achal basal alamai. First question you have to ask yourself is, why are you in this world? So I said, okay, because Baruch Hu created us to get the ultimate pleasures. What for? I said, because that'll be the best kind of a life. Anyway, I'm sitting here trying to explain this, and whatever I say, the kid is like, no. What's the point? This is going on for quite a while, and I'm surprised because I'm usually pretty good at explaining, certainly the beginning of Mesil Shisharm. We're doing it for many years. And he just kept saying, I don't see what the point is. Why not just kill yourself? Oh, no, he says, I don't see what the point is. I don't see what the point is. Why, what do I want pleasure for? What do I want to be happy for? Why should I want to be close to Hashem? Why should I want anything? Why not just kill yourself? Kill yourself, not running. So I said, even in the non-Jewish world, the secular world, they understand that a person who wants to kill himself is crazy. That's crazy. They put you on a suicide watch. They put you into, mental institution. Killing yourself is considered a bad thing. Everyone understands that life's a good thing. I said, if you want to kill yourself, then I mean, that's crazy. You don't want to see a rabbi. You want to see a psychiatrist. He says to me, I am seeing a psychiatrist. I'm on medications for depression. And I looked at Pesach, and he looked at me. The mother had left out that particular detail. She said, my son came back from Israel, and he has some questions in Hashkafa. I am a rabbi. I am not a mental health professional. What do I know about dealing with people who are suffering with depression? The mother sends the kid to a rabbi, Ke'ilu, that he has Hashkafa questions, when really the kid is suffering from chemical depression. He's on medication for it. Well, I did whatever damage control I could under the circumstances, obviously, because if I knew that the person was actually crazy, I wouldn't have called them crazy. And a caveat here, because I know I'll get some angry emails, I am 61 years old. When I was growing up, that's what we had. We didn't have fancy medical terms. You're crazy. That's what my father used to say to me. You're crazy. I'm crazy. Mother's crazy. We're all crazy. You understand? Everybody's crazy, So what I mean is, I did not understand that there were serious underlying psychological problems here, or I would have said quite openly, I am not qualified to deal with psychological difficulties. Okay, what can I do? I did the best that I could to backtrack, but he was very angry, and fine. I made my exit. The next day, I called up Pesach Kron, and I said, how did it go after I left? He says, not good. He's upset, his mother's upset. I said, well, I wish they would have told me that I was dealing with a situation here where there was some kind of mental illness. And obviously, I would have just said that this is not my field and I'm really not qualified to deal with this. Fine. That's the story. A year or two later, I don't remember exactly, a year or two later, I'm giving a lecture. At the end of the lecture, this woman comes up to me with a friend. And she says, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. And I said, okay. So I I'm the mother of the son, the boy that you spoke with. And I said, oh, how's he doing? She said, terrible. It was a total train wreck. You just made everything worse. I said, I'm not sure what you think. You're not a mental health professional. You're not in a position to deal with the situation. I said, did I claim to be a mental health professional? What kind of a mother sends her son to speak to a rabbi without mentioning the fact that he's being seen by a professional? It was totally irresponsible on your part. The kid is completely messed up. Now it's all because of you. And this is in front of everybody at the end of the lecture who's all coming over to ask me questions. I was beside myself. I was so upset. I made the cardinal mistake when I got home. I was so upset. My mother said, what's the matter? And I told her, and she was aggravated. For years later, she would always bring up this story. She was so upset. Poor old sick woman. and I was moved by this on a lot of different levels. Rabbi Nate Siegel. I would normally say Nate Siegel, but since I got this email to yell at me, so I'll add on Rabbi Nate Siegel. Even though we were both Long Island and his wife, they were actors together. But so he said to me, when he was working in NC he says he drove 45 minutes out of his way to drive this kid home. And as soon as he comes out, the mother comes out and starts yelling at him. My son didn't get to stay with who he was asked to be with the housing, all like this. So he said, first of all, thank you for driving my son home. I'm sure it took you a lot of time out of your way. Second of all, thank you so much for making such a wonderful Shabbaton that my son joined so much from. Thirdly, your son got to the Shabbaton and asked if he could move to be in a house with different people. I won't tell you what he said was his conclusion from this story, because it's not Lashon Nakiya. It's not Chas v'Shalom, a bad word, but he used a reference of what he felt when you go into klal work, you become, and what your role is as a particular kli that's used in the context. This is what you do for somebody who came to help you. I left my family. I came down to help. I was not being reimbursed for this. I came in to try to help your son. I wasn't able to help your son because you lied to us and didn't tell us that he was dealing with a serious mental condition. And then you come over and yell at me in front of everybody that it's my fault? What I didn't say is, if your son ended up in professional care, you had him a lot longer than I did, and he was already seeing the psychiatrist before I met him. So if you want to look at somebody in this situation who's a problem, I don't think it's me. I didn't say that because I was so flabbergasted that there's an expression, it's a terrible expression, no good deed goes unpunished. Yeah? So had I said to Rabbi Pesach Kron, my good friend, I'm not available. I'm sorry, I'm taking my kids out. My wife would have been happy. My kids would have been happy. And his mother would have had nothing to yell at me. I don't know. Maybe she would have yelled at me that I didn't bother making time to deal with her son, who was under, professional care, that I could then, she could blame me. I don't know what. But I was so amazed. Now, that's not a positive message. I promised a positive message. So, I give many shiurim. I went for an interview recently, and I said, listen, you can ask me whatever you want, but you can just go, online, watch my podcast. I talk about everything. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I share everything that's going on in my life, sometimes to my children's consternation, And my son, who's now in his 30s, people still come over and chide him about something he did when he was 3, and I remember that story. He's like, yes, that's fine. What can I do? I'm I'm a little too open. A little too open, I've told this story before, I once had the second year girls over the house when I was teaching. And I was saying the same things I say in class, But my wife was there, so she'd say, Rabbi Orlofsky, I don't think that's what you want to say. Rabbi Orlofsky, I don't think that's what you mean. Rabbi Orlofsky. So the next day, I was back in class. I started to say something. One of the girls said, if your wife was here, she wouldn't let you say that. I said, you're right, but she's not. Anyway, well, as somebody once said to me, I feel like you stop and think whether or not it's appropriate what you're about to say. And regardless, you say it anyway, but you at least take that moment to stop and think about it, which I think is a nice thing. In any event, so I got a call from a woman in my shir. She says, listen, I wonder if I could be so bold as to ask your help. I heard you say in the shir once that you have two daughters who are divorced. And I mentioned this in the shir once. I mean, Israelis are so much better. Israelis don't say anything. They keep everything hidden. Us Americans are less good at that. We're a little too patuach, In fact, there's one Israeli mother, she always used to go to the parent-teachers meetings, and Israelis are masters of understatement. They said, and she goes, הכל מעולה, הכל טוב, הילדה שלי כל כך אוהבת את הסמינר הזאת. And they all get very uncomfortable. So she came back from a meeting when she said, I was so proud of myself. They said, no, איך הכל? I said, בסדר. Yeah, that was it. That's what to do. Understated. I was waiting online in the pharmacy, and there were a few people behind me who I knew. There were several people behind. Somebody was standing there who knows me, and he goes, Rabbi Orlofsky, how you doing? I said, great. He said, you're so great. Why are you here? I said, it's great. It's great they have a medication for my high blood pressure. It's great that they have a medication for my diabetes. It's great that they have a dedication. Anyway, every Israeli in the place is dying. I mean, literally dying. And finally, the pharmacist says, you don't have to tell everybody everything. I have always erred on the side of being a tummy. Yeah, it's one of my problems, one of my downfalls. But it's like I say, like everything else, it's Dovid and it's right. In other words, when everybody knows that I'm being honest and I'm being open. On the other hand, people wish that I wasn't always so honest and so open. Yeah, that's why that wonderful expression in English that I had learned from personal experience, where I'll be explaining something and people will say TMI, which means too much information. Yeah. Sometimes I get a WTMI, way too much information. But okay, what can I tell you? I wear my heart on my sleeve, as I said. So I mentioned it in the shir. Yeah, it's extremely painful for me. It falls under the category of the fact that I'm a tummy. Somebody said to me, goes, well, actually, I won't go into too much detail, but somebody said to me once, well, there must be something wrong with your family if you have two divorced children. I said, there is. I taught my children wrong. I told them everybody's nice, and it's not true. And so we look for the best in everybody. That apparently is a mistake when it comes to shidduchim. Yeah. Or as one person said to me, I know the dirt is there, I just have to find it. And so you look. Yeah. But Tommy seems like a nice person, Somebody said to me many years ago, don't you want your daughters to marry the best boy in Punovich? I said, why? I don't have a yeshiva. When am I going to leave them? I'm looking for a son-in-law to film my Maimed. They know how to tell some funny stories. I'll see if I can get them some gigs, go around and speak. You know what I mean? But I said, I'm looking for someone who will be the best father and husband. That's what I'm looking for my children, for my daughters, not for my husband, not for my sons. But anyway, so she says, I know you mentioned this in the shiur ones, and my daughter's going through a difficult time. She's met with a number of therapists and rabbanim. They all told her she should get divorced. Pasha doesn't know what to do. Doesn't know how. Would you be able to find some time to meet with her? And I said, sure, I don't do anything. I basically just sit here and wait for people to come by and visit me. I was always a trendsetter. I was doing this before Corona. Sitting at home waiting for something to happen. I was wearing a mask even back then, just to show you how forward-thinking I am. Anyway, so she comes down, and the whole time she's apologizing. I'm sorry for taking up your time. Thank you so much for making time to see me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. And I kept saying, I can't say it's my pleasure, but, we have to be there for each other. I said, when I was going through a hard time, Baruch Hashem. So I had some people who were unpleasant and said unpleasant comments. And I have to tell you, it was an opportunity for me to learn who my real friends are and who are not. Who stands by you and who does not. Who says bad things about you behind your back, and who comes over to give you a pat on the back and say, I'm there for you. It was an eye-opening experience for me. But there were those who helped me along the way. I have so much hakaras hatov. Listen, I've got 11 children. And some of them had issues. The Novominsker Rebbe Zatzal, I heard him once at a Project Inspired convention. And he says, I meet this boy, he has issues. When I was younger, we used to call them problems, but now they're issues. Some kids had issues. And there were people who opened up their doors to me. Let me speak to them. Let me talk to them. Offer me advice. Offer me sometimes a shoulder to cry on. I always thought to myself, Pesach Krohn tells an unbelievable story. Rabbi Pesach Krohn. I'm a bit of a fanboy. I don't know if that's ever come across on this video, but on my podcast. But one of the great things about Pesach Krohn is that he's so easy to mistake for an ordinary person, and he is such an extraordinary person. Just in his mice and things that he does. So he tells this story, an amazing story. He says his father passed away when he was young, and he was a young male. He says, and people don't want to hire a young male. And want somebody who's old with a long white beard, had a lot of experience, go practice on somebody else's kid, So that was his parnasa. His parnasa was a mile, and it was kind of hard. And so a guy in shul came over to me, he said, and the guy says, listen, are you having difficulty? He says, yeah. He lends him a sum of money. He says, I don't take charity. He says, not charity, it's a loan. When you're able, you'll pay it back. Okay. He says, I'll tell you the truth, it carried me through a very hard time. Very hard time. Eventually I got more established. I got my feet on the ground. And I went to pay him back, and he says, no, you don't give me the money. He says, I don't take charity, it's a loan. So I'll tell you a story. He says, years ago, I was having trouble in my business. I was afraid I was going to go bankrupt. And you remember Mr. So-and-so in the shul? So he says, yeah. He came over to me and said, are you having a hard time? So he says, yeah, I am. He says, let me give you some money. And I told him, I don't take charity. He says, not charity, it's a loan. I used that money, I paid off my debts, I got my business back on firm footing, and once I was in a position, I went to pay him back. And he says, don't give me the money. He says, no, you don't pay me. He says, I don't take charity. He says, I told you, it's a loan. You don't pay me, pay the next person you see who's in trouble and needs the loan. So don't pay me back. he said to him. He says, find the next person who's in trouble and pass it on to him. And he said, Kachaya. I found that person and I passed it on to him. Yeah. So you hear stories like this, but this is the first-hand story. I mean, not for me, but based like what it was. I heard it from him, so second-hand. But so those of us who aren't in a position to pay back with money, we can pay back with time, with caring. And whenever somebody asks me, can I help them with something, I look at it from the point of view of all the nice people who helped me along the way. And I want to pass it forward. And this woman was so thankful and so appreciative that it reminded me of the earlier story of the woman who was the exact opposite. Yeah. Who somebody comes to help you, and then maybe they can help you, maybe they can't. They try. And then you blame them for your problems. What a terrible thing to do. What a terrible, terrible thing to do. And all it does is reinforce you shouldn't try to help anybody. But Baruch Hashem, like I say, so many nice people have been there for me along the way that's who I channel when someone asks me for help. Does it sometimes come back to attack me? Yeah. Not often, but occasionally. And when that happens, do I regret trying to help somebody? On some level. But it's not enough for me to lose my faith. It's not enough for me to give up thinking that people are good people. Most people are good people. Yeah. And that's what we have to do. We have to look at a situation and say, there's a concept, the Memchas Dvarim and Pirkei Avos. Yeah, no seba'ol mechaveru. Carry the burden with somebody else. Now, sometimes I know people have kids who've gone off the derech. I don't know what the answer is. The OTD kids. I know what the answer is. I'm telling you that if everybody knew, boy, they would get a fortune. There are people who charge a fortune. But I've become more of a discriminating consumer. So when someone says, I work with OTD kids, I said, what's your success rate? Well, it's hard to say. I said, no, it's not. When you're done working with these kids, how many of them go back to school or yeshiva, get a job, get married, keep Shabbos and kashrus? I'm not saying they put on a black hat and they sit and learn exercise. I'm saying how many of them become functional members of society? Well, it's hard to say. I said, no, it's not. Just go through your files. Tell me, how many successes have you had? The answer is that a placebo would be more effective than that. That's how small these experts are, the percentage. And they'll say, well, you have to understand is that a lot of them turn around and start working with the parents and tell the parents whatever they're doing is wrong. You're too giving, you're not giving enough. You're too strict, you're not strict enough. You're too this, you're too whatever it is, it's your fault. Why? Because they don't know what to do with the kids. So they figure, blame the parents. That's always worthwhile. So sometimes people call me up and they say, my son is off the derech, can you help? I said, I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to meet with your child. But probably all I'm going to do is hold your hands and cry with you. Because I don't know what the answer is. If I did, boy, I'd make a lot more money than I do now. But we can hope. We can try. Speak to anybody. Reach out to anybody, even if it's a kind word. I may have told this story before, it could be, but Rabbi Meir Findel, who was the founder of the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County, because of him, thousands and thousands of people are from today. That is not a guzma. Thousands and thousands of people, some very, very choshev people are from today and active in Klal Yisrael because of Rabbi Fidel. He is, as we used to say in the old days, the real deal. So sein gesund stark. And I remember when my father passed away, I was relatively young. I think I was 37. No. Right, Fidel used to call me every Erev Shabbos, just to wish me a good Shabbos and to say hello. You know, when you sit Shiva, it can be very busy, and then it calms down. Nobody even remembers you. Nobody even remembers you. And you're supposed to go on with your life. But there's an empty hole there. Had a young lady who lost her father during her seminary year, and she came to stay with us. She says, I can't go home. I can't stay with us. And she would tell me from time to time, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I forget where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I said, no, that's called being in a veilus. It takes about a year for it to pass. And it's so considerate because, you know, I know Rav knows thousands of people. And when I say no, I don't mean just like, you know, they came to a lecture of his once. I mean that he has a personal relationship with. And to take out that time every single week. I've tried it. I've tried it from time to time. Very hard to do. Very hard thing to do. But I make an effort to smile at people and say hello. Yeah. I try to find a nice word to say, you know, to a cashier. Everybody was yelling at this cashier. It was before one of the chagim. When I got there, you know, I picked everything up and I said, Kol kavod, it's so busy here and it's so difficult. I don't know how you keep it up. Because you have no idea what I'm going through, you know. And she starts to tell me. I walked away. I said, thank you. Chag Sameach. Sometimes it just takes it. My friend Chanukh Teller, Rabbi Chanukh Teller Shlita, yeah, had a book called "It's a Small Word After All." He still has it, by the way. You can order it. Yeah, and that's what the whole book is about. A nice word, something small that a person can say that can cheer them up and change how you look at it. There aren't many people in this world who can help you. There aren't. Because Baruch Hu can help you through anything. Yeah. And there are people who can help you, some people. And if somebody ever takes out any time from their day to help you, and even if they give you wrong advice, and even if they did everything wrong, and even if they didn't handle it right, tell them thank you. Appreciate the fact that they took out time from their day to speak to you. I'm not talking about somebody who noses into your business that you don't want anyone to know about. You know what I mean? They just make things more difficult. I'm talking about that if you go to somebody for help and they try, they may not be successful. It's siyata d'shmaya. Because Baruch Hu wants them to be the shliach, they'll be the shliach. If not, not. But mitzidenu, for us, we have to have a karas hatov. We have to say thank you. We have to appreciate that. When someone is willing to give of themselves to us on any level, the only response we're supposed to do is not, oh, you didn't handle that right, or you didn't do that, is to say thank you for taking out time to try to help me and my family. What a beautiful and noble thing that is. And that's the idea I wanted to share with you, the positive idea. That when somebody reaches out to us and does something nice for us, or tries, even if they don't succeed, yeah, because it's easier not to try. Why should I get involved? What for? So I could get into trouble, so someone get angry at me. So if we are successful at anything, that's an extra. But if someone tries, someone takes out their time, try to help us, All we owe them is hakaras hatov. Nothing else. No criticism. No hakaras hatov. Thank you for trying. The first chait involved one aspect from Adam's point of view. Ha'isha should have said, it's because of you gave me this wife. That's why I ended up in trouble. Says Rashi, at that point, he was a kafoi tov. And you can trace all evil to being a kafoi tov, to going against the good that people do for us, as opposed to recognizing it and appreciating it and saying thank you. And that's why this was such a moving experience for me, just because of the sense of appreciation. I would have done it anyway. I don't look for a thank you. I do it just because Baruch Hu, I pay forward. So many nice people have helped me out in my life. If I could help somebody else out, that's enough. I don't need anything in return. But, when that happens, it just brings home the point for us, how important hakaras hatov is, to recognize all of the good that people do for us, for our family. And we should be more conscious of it. Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about this week. And that's it for now. If you want to find out more about the show, go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. You can make comments. You can email me. You can sponsor an episode. You could sign up for our online shiurim in Mesilas Yesharim or Daf Yomi. And that's about it. This is Dovid Orlofsky, and this has been the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. The Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode, and we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.